name is Kevin Fernandez, and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today, we're going to learn the bird-watching dice game, Wingspan. This 1 to 5 player game, designed by Elizabeth Hargrave and published by Stonemaier Games. In this game, you are bird enthusiasts, trying to spot as many birds as you possibly can. Along the way, you have a little bit of a checklist to see if you will have a good year, as they say. Will you be able to successfully find bird species and as well as complete your yearly goals? Find out as we go to the table and learn how to play Wingspan. Shuffle the bird cards into a deck and place it near the bird tray. We shall place it here for now. Then populate the tray with 3 bird cards, like so. Place all food and egg tokens in a supply. These are tokens accessible to all players. And some of these will be off camera, but they're there. Or let's see if I can get this. Like so. Toss the food dice into the bird feeder dice tower. Choose which type of goal board you are going to do. Blue is for a more basic beginner, and the green is more for advanced. For our game, we're going to be using the green. Shuffle the gold tiles without looking at them. They are double-sided. And place 1 goal in each box on your goal card. Like so. Return extra gold tiles, like these, back to the box. Shuffle the bonus cards into a deck and place them on the table. Each player receives 1 player mat, 8 action cubes, 2 random bonus cards, 5 random bird cards, and 5 food tokens, 1 of each type. You may keep your hand of cards private or public throughout the game. Keep up to 5 bird cards and discard the others. For each bird card you keep, you must discard 1 food token. You probably want to keep food tokens shown in the upper left corner of your bird card you selected. Keep 1 of your bonus cards and discard the other back to the deck. You may look at your bonus cards while selecting which birds to keep and vice versa. Randomly select the first player and give them the first player token. And that completes the setup. Wingspan is played over 4 rounds, each player taking a turn placing an action cube and taking an action on their player board. A round is over once all players have depleted their action cubes. On your turn, you will take 1 of 4 actions, as shown on the left side of the player mat. Play a bird card from your hand, gain food, lay eggs, and draw bird cards. On your way, you would activate bird powers, if any. Place a bird from your hand into a habitat. Place an action cube up on the play bird spot on your board, which would be right here actually. Pay the bird's food and egg cost, if there is any egg cost. Then place the bird on your mat, only triggering that bird when played power, if any. So, I could spend this wheat and this invertebra, and I would play this pygmy nuthatch onto this forest space. this one is the first space is always free. Then anything beyond that will cost you eggs. The gain food, lay eggs, and draw bird cards action follows the same three-step process. Choose a habitat on your player mat and place an action cube on the leftmost exposed slot in that row. Gained the benefit of that slot. So I can place, for gain food, I can place this, take a food, I then gain that food, I move this over, and this bird power would be then activated. So then I tuck a card from behind here, and I gain 1 wheat from the supply. Or I could get an invertebrate. Move your action cube from the right to the left, activating any birds with a brown when activated power in that row. So this one had a brown one. That's why it would activate, because I picked gain food. When the action cube reaches the far left of your board, your turn's over. When all players have placed all of their cubes, the round is over. Follow these steps in order. Number 1, remove all action cubes from the player mat. Number 2, score the end of the round goal and the round you just completed. So, to do that, you just take and look. So the first round needed the most birds in wetlands. So let's just say, for example, I had 2 birds in my wetland. One of my opponent had 1, and the other one had none. I have the most birds in the wetland. So then I would take one of my cubes and place it here. Then they would take one of their cubes and place it there, and so on and so forth. Discard all face-up bird cards on the bird tray and restock. Use one of your action cubes to mark your score at the end of the round goal. As a result, you will have 1 fewer action cube to use each round. And I showed you how that goes. So, in round 1, you'll have 8 player turns per player. Round 2, it'll be 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. Before choosing to play a bird card from your hand, consider its habitat, food requirements, and egg cost. Each bird has habitat and food requirements shown in the upper left corner, right there, of the card. Additionally, there may be an egg cost shown at the top column, right up here, of your player board, which you are playing the bird. There is no egg cost, like I said before, for the first column. If you cannot afford to pay the full cost, you cannot play the bird. When you choose to play a bird, do the following. Number 1, select a bird card in your hand. Number 2, pay the bird's food cost. Discard food tokens to the supply. They must be from your player mat, but I'll talk more about that later. The 5 food types are invertebrate, seed, fish, berries, and rodent. So, invertebrate, seed, rodent, fish, and berries. If a bird's food requirement includes a wild icon, trying to see, so as we can see, let me just bring this closer. Means the bird does not can use any type of food. Now, there are some birds, like this Californian Condor, who has a symbol like this. This means that they do not need any food at all. And all you need to do is just place it on your mat and pay any egg cost if you have any you need to pay. Place the bird card in the leftmost exposed area in its corresponding habitat. The condor could be in a forest, grassland, or wetland. Some birds can only be in one, and maybe someday some birds can be in two. The three habitats are forest, grassland, and wetland. If multiple habitat symbols are shown on the bird card, and I showed you what that looks like, you can choose which habitat row to place it in. Your player mats limits to a maximum of 5 bird cards in each habitat. If the bird has a power that reads when played, such as my little condor right here, so I can get an extra gold card if I wanted to. You may use that power. Other powers in brown and pink are not used when the bird is played. Playing a bird is the only action that does not activate a row of birds. When you choose to gain food, do the following. Number 1, place an action cube on the leftmost exposed spot in the Gain Food row on your player mat, and gain the amount of food shown on the dice you select from the feeder. So, I can gain this berry by taking the die out and then taking the berry. However, because I have an exposed area, I can then pick to discard a bird card and take another food. So I will take the invertebra, like so, and gain the amount of food shown from the dice you select. There usually is only one from the bird feeder for each food you gain. So, to review, remove a die from the bird feeder, gain the corresponding food, and put it on the table by your player board. Gain food taken matching the icon on the die and place it next to your player mat. Your food tokens are public information. You always gain 1 food token per die with the die face that shows the slash symbol, like that. You can gain either or. So this has the slash, which means I can gain either an invertebra or a seed. You cannot gain both. So you cannot get the seed and the invertebra. You have to choose. In the slot where you place your action cube shows a card to food conversion down here. And I just talked about that recently, but we're going to do a nice little review. You may discard one of your bird cards. If you do, you take an extra food. You must choose among the dice that are remaining in the bird feeder. Activate any brown powers on your forest birds from right to left. All powers are optional, and your turn by placing your action cube on the left side of Gain Food row. So this would activate if I wanted to. You can place an action cube in the leftmost exposed slot in the Lay Eggs row on your player mat and lay that number of eggs. So this allows me to lay 2 eggs, which I shall do. Put 2 eggs on this trumpeter swan. Lay an egg, gain an egg token from the supply, like I showed, and place it on a bird card that has space for it, according to its egg limit. This has 2 eggs. That's its limit. No more, no less. The egg will stay there for the rest of the game unless discarded. You can lay eggs on any combination of birds, but each bird has an egg limit. A bird's egg limit is shown by egg icons. A bird card can never hold more than its number of eggs. So, as you can see, this little dot, that is the egg limit on the condor. So it can only have 1 egg at a time. You may have more capacity to lay eggs than you have spaces on your birds. Any eggs beyond your limit are lost. Activate any brown powers on your grassland birds from right to left. All powers are optional by placing end your turn by placing your action cube on the left side of the Lay Eggs row. Place an action cube in the leftmost slot of the Draw Cards space on your player mat and draw the card. So this says 1. I can draw from either down here or over here. I'm going to choose taking this card right here and draw the number of cards shown there from either face up, like I showed, or in the tray. In the tray or in the deck, there is no limit. If the slot where you placed your action cube shows an egg, like here, the card bonus conversion, you may discard at most 1 egg to draw another card. This is optional to remove 1 egg from one of your bird cards and return it to the egg supply. Activate any brown powers, there are none, in your wetland birds from right to left. All powers are optional, and end your turn by placing your action cube in the left side of the draw cards row. And one thing I want to say, unlike a lot of other games, you cannot refill this tray until you've completely ended your turn. Then you refill. You do not refill while you're doing it. I know a lot of games you refill, you select a card, refill, select a card, refill. Doesn't work like that in this game. Bird powers can fall into 3 categories. When activated, brown powers. These powers may be activated from right to left whenever you use the corresponding habitat, of course. Cash. This refers to putting food token on a bird. You cannot spend that food token. Instead, it's worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. If you run out of food tokens, you can cash cards instead. Use discarded cards, though. If the brown power has a skull and crossbones on it, that's usually for carnivorous birds. That bird is a predator, like this bird right here. This one, it's usually right here. If the brown power has a bird card with a face-down bird card, this indicates that the bird powers involve tucking. So I'll put that right there so I can use it as an example. Other bird cards under it represent the creation of a flock. Of each of these tucked cards are worth 1 victory point at the end of the game. Once between turns, pink, these powers may be triggered on opponent's turns. You can only use a pink power once between each of your turns. We recommend telling other players what the power is and what activates it. Players should help each other notice when a bird with a pink power should be activated. When played with no color, these powers may be activated only when the bird is played, never again after you've played the bird. Bird powers are always optional. There is an index in your rule book about all bird powers, but I'll let you discover that on your own. When the round ends, all players have placed all their available action cubes. The round is over, and at round end, you, number 1, remove all action cubes from your player mat. Number 2, score the end round goal for your round you just completed, and I showed you how that works. Discard all face-up bird cards on the bird tray and replenish them. Like so. Rotate the first player token to the next player. The end round goals is based on how many birds or eggs you have in a given habitat or nest type. To indicate the points you score from the goal, each player must place an action cube on that space of the goal board, even if you score no points. The board has 2 sides, each using different scoring method. Green is the default, but the blue is good for new players, like I said earlier in this video. The green majority of a targeted item is a method used on one side of the goal board that has spaces for first, second, and third. If you are new to the game, I recommend you try this when you've played 1 or 2 games of Wingspan. On the blue side, and I'll flip it over, 1 point per targeted item is a method that uses one side of the goal board that has spaces labeled 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0 next to the space for each goal. At the end of the round, count the quantity of the targeted items. Score 1 point per item with a maximum of 5 points using an action cube to mark like so. Your score on your goal, if you do not have any of that item, you must still place an action cube on the board. So, you just place it on the space with a 0. There are multiple tokens to help you determine how you should score your points, but I'll let you discover that on your own. The game ends after round 4. Use the score pad to add together the following. Number 1, points for each face-up bird card on your player mat printed on their bird card, so right there. Number 2, points for each bonus card, would be these. Number 3, points for end round goals, which would be this. And finally, cards tucked under bird cards. The player who has the most points wins. In case of a tie, the player with the most unused food tokens wins. If players are still tied, you share the victory. And that's all you need to know to play Wingspan. If you have any questions about this game, please put them in the comments below, and I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell to be notified for videos just like these. If you're a fan of the channel as a whole, consider supporting us on Patreon. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Be on the lookout for our upcoming gameplay video on Wingspan. But until then, thanks for the views.